All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 5 of Energy Transformation Week. My name is Tara Taglienti, and I'm your host. And I'm so excited. This week has already been so amazing and so full of awesome people and interviews. And I'm so elated to bring out my next guest on Energy Transformation Week. He's been such a huge contribution to me in my world. And I've known him for several years now, and I've seen his path of transformation over the last couple of years. And it's just been so awesome. And Connor, I can't say enough about you, about how wonderful of a person I get that you are. And I would just like to introduce you. And guys, this is Connor James Hill, um, Access Consciousness Facilitator, and Naked Cowboy. And we'll get into that at some point. Connor, would you tell all our viewers like who you are and like what's your like why, like what's your mission in the world, just a little bit of like who you are, what you do, what's your mission?
Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you, Tara. I've been getting a lot of compliments lately, and maybe I used to get them in the past and I didn't really see it. But just thank you so much for everything you just said right there. I think one of the questions you said was like, tell us about you. I'm like, I don't know. I've been learning a lot about me recently, at least especially from like how the rest of the maybe not the rest of the world, but how some people out there, like you just said right there, like how people actually view me. And I'm like, wow. And like when you're like, I've known him for years and I've watched his whole thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
neat. I'm, I'm either I'm either so present that I don't really think about the past or the future, or I'm not present and it's probably coming with you, such that I'm not thinking about I'm only thinking about I don't know. So I actually I started Access like as I was working and everything, and then I figured out while I was a civil engineer in Boston that was like could actually change the whole world,
Yeah.
like everything. And I mean, it was a series of a whole lot of events, and I really kind of I've spent the last several years being like, we gotta get these fucking tools out there. They're so important. It's gonna fucking
Yeah.
save the world and change the world. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Uh, it, it didn't work from that point of view. So I've really more recently been like, all things aside, yes, that's great, and it's probably true.
Mhm.
Um, but it hasn't been working the way I was approaching it, or at least from my point of view, at least not working to how I knew it could. And
Mhm.
now it's really just like, what's actually going to be fun?
Yeah.
Like creating my life, not so, the access tools for anybody that doesn't know about them and why I talk about their ability to change the world, it totally changes the foundation around how people function. It's pretty much 99.99, and there's a whole bunch of nines after that because we got like 7 billion people on the planet now, which is could be a lot of nines.
Mm.
um, percent of the people on the planet function from conclusion. This is the way things are. This is how it has to work. I got to figure out how it has to work. I got to figure out how to do that so that will work. Nothing can ever change, and so on and so
Mhm.
forth.
Yeah.
Those tools are what's possible. What else is possible? What else is possible? What
Mhm.
else is possible? And I discovered where I personally was I did not get good grades in college, and I was lucky for me, in 2009, when the economy hit the pooper, my sister used the access tools with me, and I got a job that just was a miracle by
Mhm.
normal standards. I was like, wow, like this company never accepted somebody with my low of a GPA.
Yeah.
But because of the economy, they were in a hiring freeze, and I was still in the company as an intern. So they were like, get this guy out to Boston as soon as we can. We need a person to like work. And I did. I did really, really well. And what I really discovered while I was working out there, and why I did so well in school, because I didn't, yes, I did had a bad GPA, but I did really well in like engineering statistics, um, computer programming, and physics.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I discovered out there also, while I was like sort of learning just the scratching the surface of the access tools and the whole concept of asking a question and not looking for an answer. I discovered I already did that a lot with physics and engineering and stuff.
Yeah.
And I also learned that anytime I came to a conclusion, like this is what's going on, or this is how it works. So if somebody's out there likes being a detective, like
Yeah.
if the second I lost the question, or the second I gave up the question in any like design that I was doing, like
Mhm.
this is how we're going to do it. The second I was like, this is how we're going to build it, this design is going to, this is totally going to work, like something would show up and just fuck it up. So
Yeah.
I really discovered how, and anytime I didn't lose that, there were always possibilities coming in. So um
That's what one of the questions
yeah,
I was gonna ask you is because I know you. Am I coming in as an echo? Do you hear that?
I don't hear an echo.
Okay, cool. So it's only on my end. All right, I'll
Weird.
power through. So I know you're still an engineer, right? Are you still working on so as an engineer type, like to me, that's like to me an engineer type is like fiercely like logical.
Mhm.
So and a lot of the access tools are very like like out there, like out of the box, and like so like how was that for you? And especially like getting into like the energy work because now you're like a maestro, and I mean not only are you really dynamic as a facilitator, but you're also dynamic as a body worker too now. So I mean, like, how was that with like an engineering mind? What was it like getting to know the access? Like, I know you've given us a little bit, but like, what was it like? Was it kind of like, were you like, what the heck? How did you embrace it, or was it like a little bit of a fight? Like, how was that for you? Kind of like getting into it all.
It was easy. I'm different. I'm not a normal engineer. I train
Yeah.
now, and man, not just logical, but wrapped in conclusion. Like
Yeah.
this is the all that stuff I said before. This is how it's
Yeah.
gonna. This is how it's got to work. And personally, that's like the engineers that innovate. They're asking a question. They're searching
Cool.
for possibility. They're not looking for a conclusion. They're not looking for the answer.
Hmm.
Innovators of the world, the engineers of the world that do innovate. And I was watching a show last night on um, I forget their first names specifically, but Colt and Wesson. So like the two guys that revolutionized the gun industry in the United States in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Uh, one they actually put Mitt Romney up on screen in the middle of it, and Mitt Romney was just like, so if you don't know Mitt Romney, he ran for United States president, and he was governor of Massachusetts for a while. Um, and he was like, my dad always told me that the the biggest killer of a business is, I might be messing up his exact words, but like um, he described it. The first word was something, and then success, but basically describing where if a business was making so much money and that they got settled in their ways. Like they're like, oh God, look at us. We're so successful. We don't need to do anything else. And the second that happened, they're like, another company can come up with the same product that's better and just wipe them out.
Mhm.
So I, I was talking to someone once too that was like, in the United States, now I'm going to step it up to like a whole political level so people can get
Okay.
um, an industrial level. Is that I was talking to somebody and they were like, well, the United States government and EPA is now shutting down all the coal-fired power plants. You can't build a coal, and like, how about all these coal miners that are now losing their jobs in the coal industry and the coal businesses that are now just going bankrupt and things? And I was like, I can see the value of this company over time. Maybe they should have thought about that when they were worth $4 billion. There's a lot you can do with $4 billion. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of companies like that, and even something like an industry like that. When you have a lot of cash on hand and they're not innovating, you might as well, you're already dead. So
Yeah.
that's where it's
It's
like,
like,
we have the answer. We've got it. And a part of that, if anybody is on aligns and agrees with that point of view, basically what I said to that person was, I was like, well, I love mercury in the air. It's fantastic. So if you don't know, mercury is kind of detrimental to a human's body and any animal's body, and that's what coal-fired power plants do. They put like, it actually puts mercury into the air, and then if you breathe
yeah.
in, and then people could probably argue something, but from an environmental engineer's perspective, mercury is a heavy metal and it doesn't actually leave your body. So
Yeah.
like, if a mother of any animal, for the most part, has a baby, that that mercury gets transferred into the baby. So over a long period of time, the more and more mercury you inhale and you eat and everything, and all of that moves down the food chain. So basically, even if a human body dies in the ground, the mercury makes its way into the ground, which makes its way into some other animal or into the
Yeah.
water, which makes its way, and so on and so forth. So, and then somebody might say, well, we pulled that mercury out of the ground. Yeah, you can, essentially that's like looking at like going, yeah, well, poop came out of my butt, and so but I don't see anybody doing that. So um, it's just
You,
not, mercury's just not good when it's not in the place
yeah.
to be in, just
I mean,
like
and it,
in the mouth.
on a personal, my personal point of view is that it's time for some massive changes on this
Yeah.
planet anyway, like, let me ask you this, like, because you say you were like the different engineer. Let me, like, what was it like for you growing up? Like, did you always know you were like different? Like I pretty much, I've known you for a while, so I know you're
Yeah.
very different. But it's like, it's for someone who's like never, so like there's somebody out there that may be watching this video that's just kind of looking for something, were you like the seeker type and just kind of, did this reality like always make sense?
No, it never did.
Yeah.
I never understood anybody. It wasn't until like some point in time in college that I realized that like this thing up here for me works totally different.
Yeah.
And I kind of explained it to like my mom one time. I was like, you know, um, everybody else on this planet is like a present at Christmas. Like I can shake it and like I can hear it rattle around in there, but I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
That's how everybody else is to me. And I'm
Yeah.
also kind of that way to myself because it's just like everything that makes sense to me, I'll say it to somebody and it makes zero sense to them. But the interesting thing is like for the most part, I can't get involved with spreadsheets with other people's spreadsheets. I can
Yeah.
build my own spreadsheet and I think it works great. But if I
Yeah.
hand my spreadsheet to somebody else, they're like, this is fucking confusing. But if
Yeah.
somebody else hands me their spreadsheet, I'm
Mhm.
like, why would you, this is fucking confusing. So, like that's
Yeah.
one little thing and like all across the board.
Yeah. Because like,
Yeah.
oh, oh, I don't. If you were gonna, if well, interrupt me if I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to bring something up. Like
Yeah.
when I first met you, okay, like it was. I know I think I first met you at like SOP in Santa Barbara a long time ago, but I also I met you again. I think when I first was like, oh, I really want to like I like love this guy. Like when I was at your sister's house, she had a meet and greet with Jonas,
Yeah.
and we were talking about I think vulnerability and like to me like your your gifts are like being your way of being vulnerable and like your authenticity. And there was like this story that you told, and it was like you were talking about like I'm not sure if it was when you were a kid or if it was like like a college age or something, but you were talking about how there was this bully or a bully like either I'm not it was a bully that you actually encouraged him to like knock you out so that it could like be over with or something.
Oh, that's right. That was in college.
Yeah. It was would you I know this is like taking a
Yeah.
whole shift in this interview, but
Good.
could you talk about that? Like what was that story, but like your philosophy behind it and like I know it goes along with being vulnerable and that's like such a gift and I know you're good at that. So will you like highlight that story for us?
Thanks. Yeah, actually, I'm really that's awesome. I totally forgot about that. I was because I was really drunk. And actually,
Yeah.
the interesting thing is like my friends in high school fought all the time. And if I left town, because I'd like leave because my friends were in Chicago, and when I left town to go to Kansas, they would fight. But if I wasn't ever in town, nobody got in fights. But they'd get like close to fights, and I'd always like diffuse the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like I'd have to tell my buddy, I'm like, do we really want to deal with the cops right now? He'd be like, bro, I'm gonna kick that guy's ass. I'm like, and do you really want to deal with the cops right now? And then I'd go to the other kid and he's like, I'm gonna kick that guy's ass. I'm like, I might have been like, you're kind of outnumbered. I mean, there's a fight, then I'm gonna have to get involved. You get it. That's just how it works. Like,
Mm.
I'm sorry, I don't really want to do it, but you know, if it goes down like that, and my friend starts losing, the other rest of us have to get involved. It's just how it works. I'm sure you do the same. Maybe not, but no, the one that you're talking about specifically was in college, and some guy, I hit on his girlfriend, and which I never do, and which I've also discovered. I think everybody thinks I'm hitting on everybody all the time. News to me. People are like, you were so hitting on that girl, and I'm like, I was just talking to her. Okay. This is a weird world.
We're friendly, very friendly people, you know?
So this guy's like, you hit on my girlfriend. And he had like 5 friends with him. And it was like, I was just by myself. And we're actually at a pizza place. It's like a late night pizza place or something, right? And he's like, I'm going to kick your ass. Whatever it is, I was like, all right, dude, bring it. And they were all like, you know, his buddies were like looking at me really confused. I was like, he's like, dude, I'm going to fucking so kick your ass. I'm like, I know. Because he was way bigger than I was too. And I was like, I know, but I'm going to get one. I don't give a fuck. I'm getting one. I'm going to get one shot off. And I was just like, I don't care. And that's to most people. And actually, I just saw where like that is when you're dealing with someone that one like kind of has nothing to lose and doesn't care. It's really scary and it's really weird. Like, and that also putting that more into the Access Consciousness tools. That's just like you said, the vulnerability. People doing that sort of a thing, they're looking for you to have a barrier. That's what they expect. When they go to fight you, when they go to do these things, they look for your resistance. They look for you to be like, and like something to butt up against. If you look at physics, Newton has the law of every force has an equal and opposite force. So that's this reality. It's like, yes, I'm going to give force. You must give equal and opposite force. Then we can fight. So if you have 0 force and you just lay down and you're like, all right, fine, kick my ass. I'm gonna get 1. And then they're just like, and his buddy and his friends are just like, dude, don't worry about this guy. Let's get out of here. So it's having nothing, like that vulnerability is having nothing to. And thank you for pointing that out, because
well,
I'm not being enough.
Because like my next question, like you've done a lot with like when the Access Consciousness School was going on, and like you're just really good with kids. So my next question to you would be like, if there was a kid that's like out there dealing with bullies or people who have, you know, a lot of people that I noticed that go on these transformational paths. I know I was bullied when I was in school, you know, and it was like, what would you say to that kid if they ever stumbled on this video? Like if they were like the willingness to be vulnerable, and that like how can that help them? And like what would you say to a kid dealing with something like that?
I would ask
Right.
them, I would ask them, what do you know? Like starting with that as the core, what do you know? And what do you know about this person? Now, if we go into the access tools a little bit deeper, we'd go like, who and what are you not willing to be? Because what, and I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I've actually been like asking it around a while. I'm like, man, like when I was younger, it's that, and I'm seeing more of it now as I get to talk about it. Is like you ask yourself, who and or what am I not willing to be? Because when a bully is doing that with someone, it's pretty much always, because the bully sees you as greater than them.
And
Yeah,
you would never think that,
right, exactly.
you know,
Mhm.
like
And
okay.
the only reason they're even able to do what they're doing is because you're not actually willing to entirely be as great as you are. So they do their bullying in order to keep you down or where you're at, or even take you farther down so that you can never actually be greater than them. Now, the other thing is it actually true that anybody's even greater than other people? Yes. Like it's a no and it's a yes because you also have to be looking at what are people willing to choose.
Yeah.
Is someone that's choosing to bully, are they ever going to choose something greater? Or are they going to be stuck in their reality, their world for their whole life because they aren't willing to change or choose
Mhm.
something different? Um, you have to actually be willing to see that. And so for a kid, it's like the question always empowers, the answer disempowers. So that's why I'd like to ask you, don't go to like an answer of anything like this is what's going on. Just like I talked about earlier with the engineering stuff, that's where I
Yeah.
learned like, don't try to figure it out. Just always be asking what's actually going on here.
Mhm.
Um, like you can ask that question when they're doing that, like what the hell is actually going on here? And you can lower all your barriers. Just ask. If you're like, what
Yeah.
do I do? Just ask. Lower my barriers.
What are my barriers?
Mhm. Because when you do your you're putting up a resistance and reaction to that bullying. It gives them something to fight against.
Yeah.
Um, so if you are a kid and you have that going on, just know, like like I said, the answer disempowers, the question always empowers. Ask the question, does this person actually think I'm greater than them? Does this person actually see me as greater than them? Does this person see me as a threat?
Yeah.
They probably do. More often
Yeah.
than not. And so ask those questions and really just know that's going on. Like that's almost always what it is. Like
Yeah.
you
And and if like lowering of the barriers doesn't give them anything to fight up against, they'll probably leave you alone, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so like this, we're probably gonna go over a little bit. Is that okay? Like I know we're at almost
Yeah,
at a half hour.
good.
Okay, cool. Because I want to get into like so
And
you also
one thing I do want to say is
yeah.
Tara said, don't give them that barrier. They'll probably leave you alone. I don't want like don't function from if I do this, they'll probably leave me alone. That
Oh, okay.
next up. You go in the moments always. What else is possible here? So like I'm gonna take you to if this is the first video you've ever watched, like take it to the easiest tools of what else is possible Like what, and for a long time when I first started the Access Tools, what was easier, I'd try to find out what else was possible when I asked that question. So I'd go, what else is possible that I haven't considered yet? Thing that you've ever seen in the past and something new that you've never even known possible could show up. So what else is possible that I haven't considered yet? So you can ask that even like at night when you're laying in bed and you're like thinking about this bully, you're like, fuck that guy. Like, what else is possible that I haven't even considered yet? I mean, and um, what's actually going on here? And probably the biggest one, if you're a young enough kid, this one might make it the easiest. Who or what can I be
Mm,
to allow this to dissipate? Who or what can I be to allow this to dissipate? Um, and
cool.
be willing for anything to show up. Like, if you hate the kid enough and you prefer the other kid die, you know, maybe he gets hit by a car the next
Oh,
day.
jeez.
For saying that, just saying,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could be, and don't make yourself wrong. If you're like, oh God, I should be sad that Billy's gone. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like Billy was a fucker. Bye. If we're in this party on the planet Earth, he left the party. Now the party just got better. So, or it, like the weirdest shit can show up. So
Yeah.
just ask those questions. Who or what can I be to allow this to dissipate? Who or what can I be to allow something different to show up? It's and just know that like what question can you ask? Always being the question.
That's awesome. And yeah, I may have reacted a little bit to the whole Billy dying thing, but that was
Yeah,
awesome because anything could happen, and
and that's the thing.
shoot.
That's actually one of the biggest things is if you're unwilling to have what we call the killing energy, and it's not what we call the killing energy, it's
Mhm.
the killing energy. If you're not willing to have it, that is what will control you.
Got
Like
it.
if you're, oh my God, Billy died, I should feel really bad for him. You know what? I went to a school where a kid that got picked on a bunch, I actually watched him. We were in a weightlifting room, and this is in Kansas when I was a freshman in high school.
Mhm.
I did weightlifting like every day after school because I thought I was small and puny and I better lift weights because everybody's going to try and beat me up. That was me. Um, this kid, he's in there lifting weights and he doesn't really know what he's doing. He actually falls back and drops the bar on his head. 2 days
Mhm.
later, he dies.
Oh, wow.
And this is a kid that got picked on a bunch. And so, like the very next like Monday or Tuesday or whatever, I'm sitting at a table and the quote unquote like popular kids were sitting there, and this one kid goes, "I don't understand," like because the school is like, let's have like a 20-minute assembly or something. I can't remember what we were doing, but the school did like a whole thing for the kid that died.
Mhm.
And they're in there and they're like the popular kids, and they're like, I don't know why the school is doing this. The kid was a loser. And I was like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, where the fuck am I? So,
Yeah,
and the kid that just died might have been someone that sat at a table. And if any one of those quote unquote popular kids had died, would have been like, that's really sad that someone had to die at the age of 15.
Mhm.
So, just
Yeah, I get it.
quit caring about stupid people. Like that's not
Yeah.
even caring. So um, like the kindness of killing is something we talk about in Access, and it's you've got to be willing to have it. It doesn't mean you have to go out and actually kill someone. It's,
Right.
you have to be willing to. The
Yeah.
other way to put it, I like to look at it like I loved animals as a kid growing up.
Mhm.
Like pretty much every animal, I actually have seen animals that don't have aren't willing to have the killing energy, and
Mhm.
other animals will attack that animal like no other business. Um, but look at a lion. A
Right.
lion is going to kill anything and everything that crosses its path, not just to kill it because it's the lion, and so nothing crosses its path. It doesn't even have
Yeah.
to like flex its muscles. It doesn't really have to roar. It literally just walks around like
Yeah.
so. That energy. So if you're unwilling, for all of you ever watching this now and in the future, anywhere,
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying you go kill someone. I'm just saying anywhere you're not unwilling, anywhere you're not willing to kill, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes, I'm saying it for everyone.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Oh,
Wow. And that was
no.
the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. If you guys want to know more about that, you can go to theclearingstatement.com and there will be, it'll just explain it all. But what Connor just said is kind of like a vacuum that sucks out all of like the limiting energies that would keep you limited in that area and just kind of disappears it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
And I'll explain a little bit more right now too. So the
mhm,
reason this whole thing locks you up is like if you're not willing to kill, if you're basically you're not willing to be aware of that energy, and you already judge killing. You judge killing someone, which is fine. It's just that anytime you judge that, you have to judge any one of your options or any choices you have against, wait, is this right or wrong? And you have to judge it against whether or not you're willing to kill so that you don't have all choices available to you. You don't have all choices available to you that would make the situation better for everybody.
mhm, mhm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, this is some good stuff. It's kind of some deep, this is a little more, I would say this is, we're kind of going advanced, but that's fine, you know. I'm glad we're covering a lot. Now, is there, I really want to, I kind of want to switch gears though and kind of talk about you like a little bit more, highlight some cool things I think I've noticed, all right? It's kind of on this like having the willingness to have kill energy, but you have like, so just from watching some of your videos, Connor, like it almost looks like you have a willingness to like die, so to speak, like with all like, because you do so many like extreme sports and like you do from like skydiving, some like snowboarding, skiing, mountain biking. I've seen like a video of you driving on the Autobahn. From like, you know, posing on the nude, well, not posing on the nude beach, but you know, doing your videos on the nude beach in Australia. Like you're traveling the world and you have like a huge sense of adventure.
Mhm.
And so I just, you know, like my question to you is like having the willingness to jump. I haven't even jumped out of a plane yet. Okay. Like that is a little freaky to me, but it's
Mhm.
like knowing what you know about facilitating consciousness and your willingness to like really do all these like edgy things,
Yeah.
like how does you find that the willingness to, like there's not many people I know that facilitate access that have jumped out of a plane, you know, or have the willingness to just go do that and do these like extreme things. So like how do you does that assist you in your facilitations and how does that kind of add to everything?
That's a phenomenal question. I had never looked at it that. Um, really, just what comes up is I guess I'm willing to be and do anything. Um,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of like there. This stuff is so fun for me because I get to discover what I'm actually not willing to be and do.
Yeah. Which is
And
not much. I
yeah, um, yeah, I guess like um, it's so funny because I think is what you just did is facilitate me there, and I might have to find
Oh,
information later. I'm like,
wow. I had no idea I did that.
so really, um, it was funny. We were at facilitators, certified
Yeah.
facilitators, and there was somebody asking a question. They're like, I'm freaking out. I really want to leave the class. I'm like, I just kind of want to leave everything. And I wasn't really paying attention. I was like working on my computer. And Dane goes, or no, we weren't facilitators. This is another Symphony of Possibilities. And I'm like on my computer. And Dane goes, who would like to facilitate this person?
Mm.
And like nobody raised their hand, you know? And he's like, really? No one wants to get up here and like facilitate this person. And then like I heard him ask that like 2 or 3 times, and then finally I was like, seriously, nobody's fucking doing it. I'll do this shit. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, no one's gonna do it. I'll do it. It's just that.
Yeah.
If a whole bunch of other people are doing it, I'm like, fine, I don't need to do it. Somebody else is doing it. Um, but you hit the nail on the nose. It's like the willingness to die is I just apparently some point in time in my life I made the decision that I wasn't gonna let. Wow. Hmm. Apparently, I made this decision at some point in time in my life. I wasn't going to let anything or anyone control me,
Mhm.
and death being one of them, because not very many people around this planet are controlled by the thought of death. Or
Right.
wait, maybe they are.
Oh, yeah.
So I
Totally.
mean, like when I did skydiving, I didn't just, people probably think, oh, I'm just going to go jump out of the airplane. I studied my rig and I studied skydiving like nobody's business.
Mhm.
And I read in the United States and for the most part across the world, every skydiving death is reported and they tell the story of how it happened. And I read through like well over 700 of those, and I was like, all of those could be avoided.
Yeah.
Single one of them, you know? So, and I was like, nothing in here is like totally out of my control. And in the skydiving and all that stuff it's not about going to conclusion. You have to be willing to be aware of everything
Mhm.
because it happens fast.
Yeah.
If you mess up,
You're jumping out solo now, right? Like, are you
I
it's
did for a
not
while. I haven't jumped in like 2 years.
yeah, wow, that's so cool.
Quite
I
tough.
c Wow, that's awesome. Like, the places I go in my head, it was like, I need to jump with somebody that knows exactly what they're doing so I can just scream and freak out because that's I don't know. I'm like, I think about it and I'm like, I'd
How
probably pull the
excited your
cord.
body is?
Huh?
You see how excited your body is?
Yeah, I know. That's so interesting.
That's that's basically is that's a body that desires to jump out of an airplane.
Ah.
See how light that felt?
I know.
Those of you watching the video
Wow.
right now, what's true feels lighter. What's lie is a I've talked to people that really don't
Oh,
desire to jump out of an airplane, and I know, and I'm like, no, you are someone that shouldn't. Don't ever do it. They're like, oh, okay, thank you. They relax, but they're like, oh
mm.
God, they do this. They're like, oh God, jumping. Oh my God, jumping out. That's their energy. Your energy is like, oh my God, oh wow, I can't. Oh man, it's too much excitement. Too great.
As long as somebody else is in charge of pulling the thing that's, like, attached to me, that they have all the tech skills, I can scream and flail my arms, I'll be great.
Yeah, that's your first one.
So, I have another question for you. I bet you the people who are watching this video just you've been titled the naked cowboy on this on here. And I know I called your bluff on that. You were like, "Go ahead and put naked cowboy." And I did. But you know what? Like I've known you for many years now and your sense of humor and your willingness to laugh is is like one of I think one of the best things about you.
Thank
And
you.
it's like, you know, I don't know, can we kind of talk about laughter and humor and like it's like one of the most healing energies, like, and like, what is your take on all of that?
Yeah, you are changing the mode. Well, if you're a younger person and you've seen the movies, the Monsters Inc. movies,
Yeah,
yes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen them, but
The, the
yeah.
first one, the first one is the monsters have to go and scare kids in order to get energy, and like that's how their whole city runs. They run on the electricity or the energy from green and being scared. Number at
Wow.
the end of that, they discover that when they make a kid laugh, they get like 100 times more energy than they do when they scare the kid.
Oh, wow.
So, boom, there you have it. I mean, all the other
Yeah,
movies are not nearly as fun, but yeah, I mean, you change so much more when you're laughing because
yeah.
everything will just be easier and a joke and much more fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Connor, this has been awesome. I'm really grateful for all the topics that we touched on, and for
Mhm.
all everything that you contributed. And I just wanted to find out, like, how can people get in touch with you? Like, what are your website links? And um
I
yeah,
have
and,
I have connorjhill.com,
mhm,
connorjamehill.com, accessconsciousness.com
mhm.
/ Connor Hill, uh, Access Connorness on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm gonna put this stuff underneath the video here so people can see what you're
Yeah,
up to. And I know, Connor has classes coming up all the time. Like, you're always creating something. You just started a book club with the 10 keys. The 10, what is it? The 10 keys to total freedom for a year. And you also just recorded on audio the, what is it? Money is the problem you are. Money's not the problem you are book. So you get to
and
listen to Connor's voice.
and I talked to exactly and how I told you that, like, wow, I've been getting so many more compliments, and maybe I haven't been getting more, but I've been able to receive them for like the first time in my life. Like, I used to be like, what do I do? All these things that you said to me, if you said that to me like 2 months ago, I'd have been like, what do I do with that? You know what I mean? I'd have been like, I don't, do I say something? Like, do I supposed to compliment you now? God, you look so good. But now I sit here and go, wow, this is so cool that that's how someone sees me. And
Aw.
I have to,
Yeah.
and obviously, all the Access tools, all the classes I've taken, everything, all the people in Access, you
Mhm.
included, have all contributed to creating that.
Yeah.
And really, it was mostly for me the choices that I made in reading that book. My God, I had to.
Mhm.
It was like every time I was reading it and reading it aloud, like the words would jumble themselves. I'm like, oh my God, my brain hurts. Um, because the whole book is really just talking about stepping up in your life,
Yeah.
like stepping up to being you, stepping up to choosing to show up as you in your life. And I ask for that more and more every day. And it gets way cooler. So going
Yeah.
back to the beginning, kids, ask that question of yourself. Oh
Yeah.
my God, have that as a young kid. What's it going to take for me to show up in my life?
Ah, awesome. I mean, and I think you may have pulled out the last question that I ask every single person that comes on to Energy Transformation Week. You probably just did it, but I'm gonna ask anyway, and we can just reiterate it. So imagine the younger you is watching this video, like
Right.
like in the beginning of it all, like you're just choosing
Yeah.
your path, right? What would you say to encourage him as the being that you are today?
Wow. I would say, Mike, about to cry. Just
Oh,
I'd go
go
back,
for it.
I'd go back to when I was 8-ish. Not that this would make any sense at the time to me at 8. I'd be like, what? Yeah, why wouldn't that be the case?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, it's a combination of, it's just like, I went through several things as you first said that. So, just, you can actually have fun.
Mhm.
Like, you can have fun. You can. You really can. All of you out there, you can actually have fun. I will give you the permission right now. You can
Awesome.
have
Dude, thank you so much. Like, that is awesome. Um, I,
fun.
thank you, and thank you so much for giving me your time today, and thanks for doing this. And I'm gonna kind of wrap this up. So, guys, I just wanted to let everybody know there's a beautiful energy right now on this video. I'm just like loving it. Anyway, I just want to let everybody know that tomorrow I'll be interviewing Catrice Goddard. She is the founder of Expansion, and the SHE is a she because it's like a network for women. So really, really wonderful, powerful women there. And again, I just really want to thank Connor for coming on today. This was an amazing interview. The energy is like off the charts right now. And Connor, if you'd like to say anything in closing, you have the floor.
That's it. Thank you so much for having me. This has been one of my favorite, if not my favorite, interviews or thingy things yet. Thank you. Your questions are so good.
Oh, thank you.
This is a massive, massive contribution.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, take care. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 12 p.m. EST. Bye-bye.